The Skies over Germany, July 23, 1943. From 25,000 feet, the world is a frozen, sun-bleached tapestry of hostile territory. Inside the aluminum skin of a B-17 Flying Fortress, the temperature plummets to a brutal 40 degrees below zero Fahrenheit. The 10-man crew, encased in fleece-lined leather and breathing through rubber oxygen masks, are islands of fragile life in an ocean of thin, deadly air. Their target is deep in the heart of the Reich, and they are a very, very long way from home. Suddenly, the intercom crackles to life, the voice of the top turret gunner sharp with adrenaline. Bandits. 11 o'clock high. Coming in fast. Every head swivels. There, against the blinding glare of the sun, are the specks. They grow with impossible speed, resolving into the shapes that haunt every bomber crew's nightmares. They are not the familiar, elegant Messerschmitt 109s. These are different. Stub-nosed, aggressive, with a radial engine cowling that makes them look like charging bulls. They are Focke-Wulf 190s. The butcher birds. Sound of roaring radial engines and .50 caliber machine guns firing. The German fighters don't bother with graceful, sweeping attacks. They come in head-on, a storm of steel and fire, their wings blinking with the light of 4 machine guns and 2 20mm cannons. The closing speed is over 600 miles per hour. The B-17's .50 caliber Browning machine guns roar in defiance, spitting streams of tracers into the blue, but it's like trying to sweat a swarm of supersonic hornets. The lead FW-190 flashes through the formation, its cannon shells ripping a 4-foot hole in the wing of the bomber next door. Another dives from above, ignoring the hail of defensive fire, and surgically removes the tail gunner's entire position in a cloud of shattered plexiglass and metal. The attacks are brutally efficient, impossibly precise, and over in seconds. The German pilots seem to be one with their machines, their focus entirely on destruction, unburdened by the complexities of their own aircraft. They are a force of nature, a revolution in aerial combat that is bleeding the United States Army Air Forces white. And back in England, at a top-secret Royal Air Force base, one man is about to discover why. Dramatic pause. The date is the same, July 23, 1943. But the place is a world away from the flak-filled skies over the Third Reich. At RAF Farnborough, in the south of England, the air is thick with the smell of cut grass and high-octane fuel. Here, within a heavily guarded hangar, stands the very weapon that is tearing the 8th Air Force apart. It's a captured Focke-Wulf FW-190, sitting silently on the concrete floor, its menacing camouflage seeming to absorb the light. Standing before it, a clipboard in his hand and a deep furrow in his brow, is Technical Sergeant Robert Clayton, an American. Clayton is a senior mechanic on loan to the British from the USAF's Air Technical Intelligence Service. He's a quiet man from Ohio who grew up with his hands covered in grease, a man who understands engines not through textbooks, but through touch and sound and instinct. He knows Pratt and Whitney radials, he knows Wright cyclones. He thought he knew everything there was to know about what made a radial engine scream. But what he's looking at now, what he's been studying for weeks, leaves him utterly, profoundly baffled. For the first 2 years of the air war over Western Europe, a single German fighter had fundamentally rewritten the rules of engagement. The Focke-Wulf 190 wasn't just an airplane, it was a paradigm shift, a technological leap so profound it forced the Allies to question every pillar of their air doctrine. When it first appeared over the English Channel in August of 1941, the reports from Britain's elite Spitfire pilots sounded like fantasy. They spoke of an enemy radial engine fighter that outran them, outclimbed them, outdove them, and outgunned them. It was structurally tougher, able to absorb punishment that would shred a Spitfire to ribbons. It was, in short, impossible. The Spitfire, the undisputed king of European skies, had been dethroned. Luftwaffe Colonel Adolf Galland, a legendary ace and commander of Germany's fighter arm, flew the FW-190 for the first time in May 1941. His assessment was as direct as it was lethal. "It's like switching from a Volkswagen to a Porsche," he declared. The FW-190 turns any average pilot into an ace. The numbers backed him up. Sound of a technical schematic being unrolled, powered by the magnificent BMW 801, a 14-cylinder, air-cooled radial engine churning out over 1,700 horsepower. The FW-190 could top 425 miles per hour at an altitude of 20,000 feet. Its armament was simply devastating. Four 7.92mm machine guns were paired with two hard-hitting 20mm cannons mounted in the wing roots, a concentration of firepower that could disintegrate an enemy fighter in a single, 1-second burst. Some variants even added two more cannons in the outer wings, turning the aircraft into a flying shotgun. But the true, terrifying advantage of the Butcher Bird wasn't in its raw performance figures. It was hidden deep within its metallic heart, a secret the Allies wouldn't fully grasp until a stroke of incredible luck delivered one right into their hands. If you know another legendary fighter from World War II, a plane that defined an era, drop its name in the comments below. Let's see which warbird gets the most respect. June, 1942. The fog of war is literal and metaphorical. During a frantic dogfight over the French coast, Oberleutnant Armin Faber of Jagdgeschwader II makes a fatal navigational error. Disoriented after a brutal clash with British Spitfires, low on fuel, and with his adrenaline pumping, Faber mistakes the Bristol Channel for the English Channel. He flies in the exact opposite direction of his home base. Believing he is landing safely in occupied France, he gently touches down his FW-190A3, completely intact, at RAF Pembrey in Wales. Sound of a lone aircraft landing, engines sputtering out. As he pops the canopy, ready to be greeted by German ground crew, he finds himself staring down the barrels of a dozen British rifles. He had just delivered the single most valuable piece of enemy technology of the entire air war. The capture of Faber's FW-190 was immediately classified at the highest possible level. Under armed guard, the aircraft was carefully disassembled and transported to Farnborough, the RAF's most advanced technical evaluation center. The first Briton to fly the captured prize was Group Captain Eric Brown, the RAF's chief test pilot and a man who had flown more aircraft types than anyone in history. His initial report sent a chill through Allied high command. "Controls are extraordinarily light and precise," he wrote. "Cockpit visibility is excellent. Engine response is instantaneous. This aircraft is superior to the Spitfire Mark V in virtually every respect." Over the next few weeks, Brown flew the FW-190 in 47 different test sorties, meticulously charting its performance, pushing it to its limits. Each flight confirmed the grim reality. The German design was a masterpiece. But it was Technical Sergeant Robert Clayton, the American mechanic with 12 years of experience coaxing life into radial engines, who would uncover its most important secret. Clayton had spent his life working on engines where complexity was a given. He knew the intricate dance of levers and gauges required to keep a high-performance American engine from tearing itself apart. When he began the painstaking process of dismantling the BMW 801 from Faber's captured fighter, he expected to find advanced, but recognizable, technology. Instead, he found something that defied everything he knew about combat engine design. It was a single, unbelievably complex device connected to the throttle. A mechanical brain. The BMW 801's control system was almost completely automatic. It required virtually no intervention from the pilot. A single, brilliantly engineered device called the Kommandogerät, literally the command device, simultaneously controlled the fuel mixture, the ignition timing, the supercharger pressure, and the propeller pitch. Piece by meticulous piece, Clayton disassembled the Kommandogerät. Sound of small metal parts clicking, delicate tools at work. It was a marvel of precision mechanical engineering, an analog computer built of steel and brass. 72 individual components working in perfect, synchronized harmony. Cams, springs, barometric capsules, valves, diaphragms all interconnected through a maze of rods and levers that processed real-time data on temperature, atmospheric pressure, and engine RPM. The pilot of an FW-190 had a single power lever. He pushed it forward for more power. He pulled it back for less. The Commandajurat did everything else. This wasn't just a matter of convenience. It was a decisive tactical advantage. In the cockpit of a P-47 Thunderbolt or a P-51 Mustang, an Allied pilot was a frantic, one-man band during the chaos of a dogfight. He had to manually manage a fuel mixture lever, a propeller pitch lever, a supercharger control, and radiator flap controls. His attention was constantly divided between flying the plane, tracking the enemy, and managing his engine. A mistake with the fuel mixture could flood the engine, causing it to sputter and die at the worst possible moment. An error with the prop pitch could cause the engine to over-rev and literally tear itself apart in seconds. Letting the engine temperature creep into the red could lead to a catastrophic seizure and a fiery plunge to Earth. The pilot was as much an engineer as he was a warrior. Now, imagine the German pilot in his FW-190. His mind is clear. His focus is singular. His left hand rests on one lever. He sees a B-17. He pushes the lever forward. Sound of FW-190 engine roaring to life. The Commandajurat instantly adjusts everything, delivering perfect, optimal power. His eyes never leave the target. His entire being is focused on one thing, and one thing only: destroying the enemy. Clayton documented every single detail of the system. Precise measurements, intricate technical diagrams, photographs of every last gear and spring. His final report, classified top secret, landed on the desks of engineers at Rolls-Royce, Bristol, and Pratt and Whitney like a bombshell. But discovering a secret and replicating it are two entirely different things. The German Commandajurat was the result of over 5 years of dedicated development by BMW's finest mechanical engineers. The Allies scrambled to create their own versions, but every early prototype failed. The mechanisms were too complex, too prone to failure, too expensive to mass-produce. Go ahead and type Commandajurat in the comments if you're just learning about this incredible piece of lost technology. Meanwhile, the FW-190 continued its reign of terror over the skies of Europe. During the Great Daylight Bombing raids of 1943, American B-17s and B-24s faced relentless waves of FW-190s, now armed with air-to-air rockets and devastating 30mm cannons. The losses were staggering. For the bomber crews, seeing the butcher birds rising to meet them was a death sentence. For the German pilots, the FW-190 was the ultimate workhorse. It was a stable gun platform, predictable, forgiving, and absolutely lethal. An average German pilot in an FW-190 could confidently take on a superior Allied pilot in a Spitfire and have a real chance of winning. The machine leveled the playing field. The Allied response, when it finally came, was twofold. First, new fighters were designed specifically to counter the FW-190. The British Hawker Tempest and, crucially, the American P-51D Mustang, equipped with the magnificent Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, finally met or exceeded the FW-190's performance in most areas. These new thoroughbreds, flown by pilots from legendary units like the 56th Fighter Group, Zemke's Wolfpack, operating out of bases like Böckstadt, began to challenge the Luftwaffe's dominance. Second, Allied engineers, armed with the knowledge from Clayton's report, began a gradual adoption of more automated engine management systems. They were nowhere near as advanced as the Commandajurat, but they were a significant improvement over the fully manual controls of the early Allied fighters. Rolls-Royce developed an automatic mixture control for later versions of the Merlin engine. Pratt and Whitney implemented automatic supercharger controls on the massive R2800 Double Wasp that powered the rugged P-47 Thunderbolt, the Jug. These systems weren't as sophisticated as the German design, but they significantly reduced the pilot's workload, freeing up precious mental bandwidth for the life-or-death calculus of aerial combat. After the war, aviation historian Richard Smith wrote, "The Commandajurat of the BMW 801 represented a fundamentally different design philosophy. German engineers understood that modern air warfare required the pilot to concentrate on tactics, not engine management. The Allies eventually adopted this philosophy, but they were years behind. The FW-190 itself continued to evolve throughout the war. The high-altitude FW-190D-9 variant, nicknamed the Dora by its pilots and equipped with a liquid-cooled Junkers Jumo inline engine, was considered by many Allied pilots to be the finest piston engine fighter produced by any nation during the war. American ace Lieutenant Colonel John C. Meyer, who tangled with Doris over Germany in early 1945, stated, "The Dora was fast, deadly, and flown by desperate professionals. Every fight against them was a serious affair." By the end of the war, Germany had produced over 20,000 FW-190s in all its variants. They served as air superiority fighters, fighter bombers, night fighters, and bomber destroyers. They fought on every front, from the deserts of North Africa to the frozen tundra of the Soviet Arctic. And Technical Sergeant Robert Clayton, the quiet American mechanic who dismantled the first captured Butcher bird and laid its secrets bare? He continued his work in technical intelligence for the remainder of the war. Afterwards, he was headhunted by Rolls-Royce, where he applied the knowledge gleaned from the German Commanderat to the development of engine control systems for Britain's first generation of jet engines. The original BMW 801, with its revolutionary command device, was never directly surpassed by an equivalent Allied system during the war. It was simply overwhelmed, flown out of the skies by the sheer, crushing numbers of enemy fighters with engines that were good enough, flown by pilots who were brave enough. Sometimes, the best technology doesn't win the war. Dramatic pause, but it always changes how future wars are fought. The legacy of the Commanderat lives on in the computerized full-authority digital engine control, or FADEC, system of every modern military aircraft. From an F-15 Eagle to an F-35 Lightning II, no pilot today manually manages fuel mixture or propeller pitch. They focus on tactics. They focus on the mission. The engineers at BMW understood this principle in 1939. The Allies learned it the hard way in 1942. And the world of aviation was never the same again. What do you think of this revolutionary technology? Did you know about the crucial role this automatic system played in making the FW-190 one of the deadliest fighters of the war? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you believe that human ingenuity, even in the service of war, can be truly fascinating, smash that like button. We bring you verified, compelling technical stories every week that change the course of military history. Activate the notification bell so you don't miss a single episode. World War II was won by valor and engineering in equal measure, and we're here to reveal both sides of that coin.